Hey everybody, it's your old pal Wood Doofus here. I just got finished making this reach-in closet system, and the goal I had for this was to make it as versatile as possible. For now, we use this as our office/bonus room, so I made this storage oriented with shelving in it. But I also wanted to plan for the future where this could become a bedroom, so I made these removable shelves so we could still hang clothes here in the future if we wanted to change it that way. So let me show you a few of the key elements that I considered when I put this together. So the first thing I had to consider was how to attach these shelves into the closet. My two options were to cut out a section of the carpet and stack the shelves right up from the floor up, which is good for support, but I decided I did not want to disturb the carpet in this situation. So I opted to hang them from the wall. Now when you hang them from the wall, you're going to have a lot of weight on these shelves, so you got to make sure it's supported correctly. So let me show you what I've done for support. The first thing I installed when I put this in was this 2x2 support on the bottom. And the whole idea is that I could put the boxes that I built on top of that and then secure them to the wall from that point. So there's not a lot of balancing and anything like that. And it's pre-leveled, so that works out pretty well. So along with everything else, that 2x2 support is bolted to the studs with these 1/4 inch, actually 5/16 inch lag screws. Now these are GRK Structural screws, and that's key to find that word structural when you're hanging something from the wall like this, because if it has to support weight, it has to be with screws that are designed to support weight. Any other screws could break, so these are one of the best options you have. I'll put a link in the description to these. These are 3 1/8, so they can go through the material and all the way through the drywall and into the studs with no problem. Now you can see on this top piece of my box, this stretcher is a part of the box unit, and it is bolted into the wall with those GRK lag screws. And I decided to go ahead and call it good with those lag screws, even though my original plan was to make a French cleat right here. Basically what a French cleat is I have a 45 on this piece here, and then I would have another mating piece with a 45 edge, and the mating piece would be bolted to the wall, and then you can just take your box and hang it on there, and that's the French cleat. But in this situation, I noticed that having these bolted with the 2x2 down below was sufficient to keep it structurally sound, in my opinion. So I decided not to do the French cleat after all. Now right above the 2x2 support on the bottom, I have some 1 1/4 inch screws, which I screwed down through my box unit into those. And that's just to keep it from the unit wanting to pull away from the wall. That will secure it, in my opinion. I got 2 on each side. The next thing I wanted to point out is that I reused the wire rack. Now this is the same wire rack that you see in all builder grade homes. That's the only thing they typically put in closets, and it's just a cheap thing that they throw in there to make it functional. I've never liked the wire racks, but I did decide to reuse it, and the reason I did that is because I could save a little money in material and not having to make a top. I could sit this on top, and it already has the hanging bar here. So in the event that I do want to switch this back to a traditional bedroom closet, it already has the hanging capacity once I remove these removable shelves. So this whole system consists of just 2 boxes that I built, and I constructed these boxes the same way I do all kinds of boxes that I've made in my other video, and that's just by using pocket hole screws. So I used my pocket hole jig. I put 3 sides together, and the top just has a couple of stretchers. And then I have a fixed shelf on the bottom here, and that's to add extra support to the box itself. The other 3 shelves on each side are adjustable shelves, so I can change them as I see fit. Once I installed the boxes in the closet, I went ahead and put this face frame on, and so it's 1.5 inches in the middle here for the face frame, which is just 3/4 inch material. You can use any kind of 3/4 inch material you want. And it's just 3/4 on the sides. And I made this a pretty thick unit here because I wanted a real sturdy, thick shelf in there with being able to support a lot of weight and whatnot. For each one of these adjustable shelves, I put support both on the back and the front, and that's to keep it from bowing over time. And also the front makes it's a lot more aesthetic when you have a face frame on the front, but of course it makes it more sturdy too. The material I use for the fronts of these shelves is just another thing of plywood, and then I rounded over the edges and then I sanded it neatly. If this were a more visible project, I would use solid wood on the front to avoid the visibility of the plies and the plywood. But since it's a closet project, I didn't think too hard about that, and I just used what I had on hand. I used a shelf pin jig to get all the holes for the adjustable shelves so I can vary the width as needed based on what I want to store in here. And the jig is really easy to use, and I'll put a link in the description if you want to check that out. These 1/4-inch shelf pins are really easy to find on Amazon also. I'll put a link in the description. I only had to purchase 2 sheets of plywood to build this system. Plus I used some scrap wood basically for the face frame. So the plywood costs $50 a sheet, so it's $100 in plywood, and then you can maybe put in another $50 for the face frame and the hardware that I use. So $150 is not bad for the system that I have here, especially since it's versatile and customized the way I wanted it. And that's the value of doing it yourself. So I appreciate you watching, and as always, don't be afraid to be a doofus.